Glad to have you guys here. Thanks for joining us today to talk about this story.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, we're excited.
Kyle, tell me a little bit about the snapshot of your business history so that we can sort of have some perspective on your decision to partner and merge with Premier. Like, when did you start? What were the primary big seasons? Like, what led to you saying, hey, I think it's time for us to merge with someone else?
Yeah, I mean, the business started in 1993, mainly out of a necessity. It was a hobby for a while, screen printing T-shirts, and then, just kind of grew. And then I was diagnosed with arthritis in an early stage and had to do a career change, right? And so at that point, I was like, I had this hobby I was doing, and I thought, well, maybe I can make a go at screen printing T-shirts, and didn't really know a whole lot about the industry at that time. I was just raw. But I was fortunate enough to be introduced to some distributors in the Pacific Northwest. Okay. And we started out as a contract screen printer for, a few of those folks, and then evolved into us doing embroidery with them. Okay. And then, after time went on, we just kept growing that for a few years. And then in 2001, I believe it was, I sold the business because I wanted to get out. I was like, contract work is difficult. And so,
right.
as you know,
right.
So I sold the business. That lasted about a year, and then ended up buying the business back at auction in February or March of 2002. Okay. And we went back in as a contract decorator, and it was interesting because a friend of mine had us help him with a project for one of the big swimming events at one of the universities, and it was a sweatshirt order. It was like 400 sweatshirts, okay? And we were printing these sweatshirts. It was a direct sale. It wasn't a contract job. And I'm standing out there by the auto, and they're pulling a sweatshirt off every 8 seconds. And I'm standing there doing the math. I'm like, $12,
right.
$12, right?
Versus your $1 screen print. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was like a green light. And then Bobby, from that day on, I mean, I walked in the office and said, we're going in a new direction. I mean, it was like that obvious.
Yeah.
And we joined in WPMA and PPAI, and started meeting some really great people and some great mentors. I'm very, very fortunate to have, some amazing mentors in the industry in my life.
Yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah,
and so and then here we are today, where we did this with Premier.
Fast forward to that. What changes were happening in the business that led you to think about partnering with Premier?
We were picking up larger corporate accounts, and we didn't have the bandwidth to really make that happen, right? And Premier had a facility with fulfillment, creative planning, all right? They have creative designers on staff. So, and I was at a point where I'd been doing it for a long time. I was just servicing my clients. My team, they were still hungry. They were still wanting to make things happen.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was like, something's got to give. And we had this opportunity come up with Premier. And I have to say, I think it's really re-energized the team. It's given them new sense of belonging.
Yeah.
So
I want to get to that part of the story in a minute. Manuel, tell us a little bit about Premier. Give us a snapshot of Premier. I sort of shared it in the intro, but I kind of want to hear it from you.
Yes. So Premier next year will be 50 years. They're in business. And Premier was, founded from Arnold, where he was unhappy with the service that was being done in the printing industry back, 50 years ago, and decided, hey, let me start a company where we're going to take care of the client. Ultimately, if we do good work, we take care of the client. What could go bad? So that's kind of the evolution of how Premier started, and to this day we maintain that. Right, that is like the most important part of our business is making sure the client is serviced, delivering on time, good quality, and everything else should work itself out afterwards.
Yeah. Premier is a company with over 200 people. You've invested more than $4 million in equipment, 180,000 square feet in size. Much of your production is in-house. Why do you feel it's important to build a vertical company and bring as much production in-house as possible?
Well, there's definitely been a growing trend in the last decade where people are tasked to handle certain parts of the business, and they don't necessarily have the background, the education, to take care of print. And a lot of people
Mm.
view print as a dying industry, which it is not. But they're tasked with this, and they don't understand it. So when they can come to one company like ourselves and just say, "Hey, I've got this problem. Can you handle this? Can you take care of it?" It makes it a lot easier for them. So that's why we want to be a one-stop shop. We just want people to come to us, and it doesn't matter if they're doing banners, if they're doing T-shirts, if they're doing brochures or direct mail or whatever it may be. They can just one-stop shop. They know we're going to take care of them, and we have everything under one roof.
Yeah. Kyle, I'm curious what had changed with the client. Like what changed with the client that required more high touch service? Like you said you were being asked things like fulfillment, and what other kind of things were you like, you know what, this is getting a little bit beyond the scope of our expertise.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of the fulfillment was a big part of it, right? Because so
Right.
many corporate accounts now
Hmm.
want stores and they want
Yeah.
you to have everything. I mean, we went through that years ago, right? Where stores were huge and then they kind of faded and
Yeah.
now they're back again.
Right.
And so that was a big part. It was the fulfillment and plus the creative side. We didn't have that ability to have engineers on staff to help us create custom, really high-end touch point product. And Premier has all of that, right? And we're so as we continue to grow and get referrals, we start getting these larger opportunities, and so that was a big part of that transition to go to
Yeah.
Premier.
Yeah, you and I have been at this long enough. I know Manuel has too, but we've seen the demand for the physical high touch physical part of the business grow, but also just the design side, just in terms of the buyer sophistication and what they need. Manuel, what other like I know printers love to forgive me. I know printers love to talk about their amazing equipment in house, but give our listeners an idea of what are the primary sort of components when you look at manufacturing. What I'm trying to piece together is what is it that other distributors are struggling with in terms of working with their clients and being expanded to ask for services that Premier found?
Yeah, well, I guess if we want to talk a little bit about services or equipment, if you want just to give a
Mm-hmm.
broad knowledge here, we have the whole gamut. So we do wide format, we do offset, we do digital, web digital, and obviously now into the screen printing and retouch side. But we just have so many different services that we offer that we want to make sure that if we are working with a client, we can offer that vast scope, like I just mentioned earlier. And actually, I have the list in front of me because we offer so many services, that I
Right.
kind of have to like read them off.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's just after 50 years and the company embracing always um, that feel. A lot of companies go out to market and they say we're going to be good at one thing,
Yeah.
and that's kind of their MO. They want their clients to fit in that box, right? Like this is what we do. We want you to fit in that box and do this.
Right.
And what we have discovered is we have a lot of clients that they they're a little bit, all over the place. They're a little bit chaotic, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they want somebody to take that chaos away from them. They want somebody to just, hey, take all of this, you fix it, you give us solutions, you take this on board for us. And that's where we feel we thrive. And
Yeah.
that goes for large billion-dollar corporations. They're great, they're strong, they're big companies, but they have so many things going on, they're so fast paced. They need somebody to just kind of, hey, we'll take care of that for you. We'll
Yeah.
handle that side of it. And that's where we've put together this arsenal, if you want, of tools. And I'm going to kind of just read them off real quick, just
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
give
Spit them out real quick. Yeah.
everybody there. We have a 5,000 square foot photography studio and retouching, and that's fantastic for our clients because
Right.
we're servicing that part of the business where social media, online presence, or so forth. We can take the photography of the product,
Mm-hmm.
retouch it, and help them go to market with it. We have a team of 10 creative people on our team. We have uh, uh, research development, structural engineers, on staff because we do some really intricate packaging and
Yeah.
environmental
Yeah.
graphics for our clients. We do direct mail. We do boutique packaging, apparel, embroidery. We do fulfillment and distribution. So you name it, we
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty much, can do it all in house.
With that type of broad service offering, do you have an ideal client profile?
We really don't.
You wish you did, or you don't wish you had that problem?
No, actually, I think it's great. I think the fact that we can, open it up to so many different people, our service, it
Yeah.
just makes it easier. Now, it does cause a little bit of a pain point where our sales team, our project managers, they have to have a vast knowledge of so many things.
Right.
So we tend to,
Yeah.
I would say we tend not to be necessarily experts on the sales side, whereas we have enough knowledge to talk to a client, and then we bring in our expert, be it
Makes sense.
a
Yeah.
packaging or be a creative person or direct mail, but at least having that broad knowledge to be able to go and talk to clients on a broad scale, is something a little bit challenging for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
One more question for you, Manuel, about Kyle's business. What about Kyle's business model made sense to you? Typically, when a merger happens, it's about more than revenue, it's about opportunity. What do you see would be an opportunity for Premier with Kyle's team and their expertise?
Well, we say this a lot of times, right? A lot of people can buy equipment, but it's really who can run that equipment, the expertise that are there. And when we had an opportunity to meet up with Kyle and his team, it was very apparent that there was a lot of knowledge, a lot of years of experience, and they seem to value the same thing that Premier does, right? Is let's take care of the client. It doesn't matter at what cost. We're going to take care of the client, and then we'll figure things out afterwards. And that resonated with us, right? It's almost like that's what we do at Premiere. His team seemed to be on board, with that, and that definitely, now that we've merged together, it is very apparent that their team, just wants to take care of that client, the end user, and their expertise. Right, we're learning so many things right now, even though we've been in the apparel industry for several years now. We're learning so much about merchandising and embroidery and what we can and can't do and why we do things. So it's just been so invaluable to have those expertise on our team.
Yeah. Let's talk about merging teams for a minute, because I think that's what a lot of folks are facing when they deal with something like a merger and acquisition. Obviously, they're dealing with two cultures coming together. So this question is kind of for both of you. Kyle, what's been the most important aspect about bringing together two teams and cultures? That would make anybody nervous. So I'm sure that's been a part of the equation. What's been really important for you?
Absolutely. It's open communication. That's one thing I felt from the first meeting with the executive team at Premier is very open, very honest, very transparent. And I think if you don't feel that, if you don't have that open communication to where you can collaborate with one another, listen to one another, value each other's opinions, it's going to be a hard road, right? And we've had opportunities over the years to do things with other, companies, and it just never felt comfortable. The minute I walked into Premiere and met them, it just felt good, right? Like the everything about it. My team also had that same sense of feeling and belonging. So for me, it's really good communication, open and honest.
Okay, Manuel, how about you integrating a team into a pretty fixed, a larger team?
Yeah, I think we have quite a bit of experience doing that. This is not,
Mhm.
the first time we've done it. It really does always boil down to, how can we be one team? And I think that's the hard part, right? Because as you mentioned, we're a much larger company than KG was, so now it kind of might feel a little awkward and weird, that they're not, part of the family, and that's what we strive for is everybody has to feel part of that family. Everybody
Yeah.
feels, right from the beginning that they can walk into the president's office and have a conversation about anything.
Yeah.
So that's what we're really fixated on is just making sure that the KG team, feels like they're part of this premier team.
Yeah.
And Bobby, I want to add to that for just one
Yes.
second.
Yes.
Um, we host a backstage event, and what Manuel just shared is we had clients come to the backstage, right? And they are now, so intrigued. We're doing print services with some
Yeah.
of our
What
clients
do you
now.
mean backstage? You took them into the factory?
Oh, so we do a big event every year to where we have about 10 to 11 preferred partners come, and then we have about 120 of our top clients come out
Oh,
and have
okay.
one-on-one time with our preferred partners, right? Touch and feel. It was really developed back when, everybody was hitting you up December 1st for holiday stuff, right? And
Right.
you're like, yeah, good luck, right? And so we started doing
Right.
this event to offset that, right? To get them thinking
Mm.
sooner and quicker. And
Yeah.
so we had these clients come out, and Manuel, the executive team, gave a lot of them tours. So, some of our clients have already moved over into the print side to the photo studio. We got one client that's really interested in us taking over their photo shooting. And then likewise, the account directors there at Premiere brought some of their clients, and now their clients are all excited about, merch, right? So So just to piggyback onto what Manuel was saying, there's just that everybody seems to be gelling pretty well right now.
That's great. I think you, and Kyle, you intuited this really, but Moshe Hamad, the writer, wrote an article for Fast Company that talked about the most important times we need story are when there's been massive change in the organization, or particularly when there's change in leadership. And he said that's when we kind of need the story to compel the organization forward. This is why we're doing it. This is where we're going, is what probably most people want to know. Was there anything you learned through this process that you would do a little differently? Kyle, I'll start with you.
No, honestly,
Okay.
I wouldn't do anything different. It's been a
That's great.
very
Good to hear.
transparent deal.
Yeah. How about you, Manuel?
Yeah, I think, so far, obviously, it's early on. We're here in an infancy of working together, but what has been really nice is, with Kyle and his team, is what you see is what you get. So
Yeah.
there hasn't been, any big twists or anything, that we didn't anticipate. So far, I think, I'm agreeing with Kyle. I really wouldn't change much of how things have transitioned so far.
Yeah. Kyle, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about how the COMMONSKU platform has impacted your business through the years. You've been through a lot of changes. You've done a lot of innovation. You've been one of those leading thinkers in the business. How has the COMMONSKU platform made an impact on your business? And how did it help you sort of get to this place?
Yeah, if we didn't have COMMONSKU during the pandemic, we probably would not have made it through the pandemic,
Yeah.
honestly. Since we joined, I believe, 8 years ago
Yeah. I
now.
know it's been a
Sorry,
while. Yeah.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
But it's been overwhelmingly powerful for us as a team. We've embraced it. It's helped us with efficiencies. In fact, it's so powerful that during negotiations with this merger with Premier, I made it really clear, like, we need to have CommonSku on board because you're so integrated, right? And it's so streamlined. Like, until you see it, and then once the executive team saw it and they started playing around in it and learning it, they were like, okay, yeah. And I believe we've added maybe 4 more licenses since this merger, and so yeah, I was hesitant, Bobby. I was like, technology. No, no, I like my spreadsheets.
Yeah. I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Manuel, any thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, actually, I did want to add to that about the common SKU. I mean,
Yes.
we did see that, in negotiations with Kyle, and we were really impressed. We were like, wow, we've been looking for a tool like this on our end, and we actually started, digging in and adopting it even before the whole transition, happened. And then obviously having the team come along and help us, navigate and work the software was fantastic. But what it's done for us is our side, our sales reps weren't maybe as comfortable, some of them selling merchandise and just, they're a little bit more print oriented. Now having that tool, seeing the presentations, seeing how slick and how great,
Yeah.
it looks, and have the whole process of invoicing and everything going through it, they were like, wow, I can get on board with this. This is something that
Yeah.
I feel good about. So it's
Yeah.
really, in a very short amount of time, brought in several of our team members to really embrace and want to get into this segment of the market. So it's been fantastic. We love it.
You know how much we love to hear that. And I also love the psychology of a salesperson or someone embracing new technology. They're already busy. They're going crazy with taking care of orders within a deadline driven business. And then just the comfort of seeing other people work in the platform. The transparency has been something that
Yeah,
we've seen a lot. And we've heard this a lot about mergers, that this has been a fantastic tool throughout the process. All right.
absolutely.
Final advice. Kyle, what advice would you have for other distributor principals as they consider the landscape of merging or selling their business? Not that you did that. This is clearly a merger, but what advice would you have for
Yeah,
another distributor?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think each person's environment's a little different, right? But
Hmm.
make sure the culture fit is there. That's, I mean, I really feel that our cultures were so similar that made this really smooth. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one of the biggest things. And I think you got to be really patient. You can't rush anything, right? I mean, we spoke for close to a year, right? Just
Wow.
with, opportunities and how would this work? And, how's the team going to adjust? How am I going to adjust? I haven't had a boss for 30 plus years. So it's like, hello, you know. So patience is a real thing, and then confidentiality. You have to keep it confidential. I
Yeah.
mean,
Great point.
it was driving me nuts not
Yeah.
sharing with my team what
I'm
was going
sure.
on,
Yeah.
but
I'm
I
sure.
couldn't because I didn't want people to panic and
Right. Right. Right.
honestly, you got to have legal advice too. You can't do this stuff on your own. You got to have help, right?
Great point.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really great point. Manuel, how about you? What advice would you have folks who are considering this as well?
Uh, I think they have to look at it long term, not as instant satisfaction. I'm going to add X amount of dollars, to my bottom line. It's something that really has to fit in into your DNA. Yeah, you can't just take a company and say you're going to fit in here. Like it's just it won't work. People are going to leave. They're going to be unhappy, and just why have you now done this merger, right? If people just aren't feeling gelled. So my biggest advice is look at it long term, not as a quick satisfaction. What is your long term goal in this merger? Are you adding a service? How is this helping you grow as a company? And definitely for us, it's helped us now get to a different level on this side of the business, if you want.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations to you. Go ahead.
Bobby, can I
Kyle, go
just
ahead.
throw one more thing in there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. You know, honesty is a huge factor. Okay. And you cannot go into something like this misleading in any way.
Yeah.
And I feel both parties have really lived up to what we've honored and spoke about. And I have to say honesty. I mean, I feel the honesty from the ownership at Premier all the way down to the executives, to the individuals working there. And I just and I'm not trying to say people are trying to be dishonest, but you got to just be
Yeah.
transparent
Yes.
about what's
It's a good
happening.
word.
So
Yeah. Well, congratulations to you both. This has clearly been a very successful merger and fantastic for the teams. You know, Kyle, how much we think of you and your team. So thank you for being such a loyal COMMONSKU customer, for introducing us to Premier. And guys, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you.
thank
Appreciate
you.
you having us. Thank you.